Another tool to use when working on object-oriented programs is something called composition. Composition is when we create a class made up of other classes. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of work here to get where I want to go, but I'm going to create two simple classes and then use those to compose a third class. So this first class is going to be called name. Let's open the editor. Let's delete all of the things we don't need there. We're going to have to call those private. So our name class is just a first and last name. Let's create a constructor to build it. And then let's write a method to display it. ToString is a very commonly used method to display the string value of an object. So we're just going to use ToString. I wanted to introduce that and I haven't done so yet. So I thought now would be a good time. Let's compile. No syntax errors, so we're finished. Let's close the class. Now let's create another class called date. This is a simple date class. Let's open the editor. Let's remove the innards. Whoops, didn't quite get them all. Don't want everything. Right to there we go. Delete. And in this class we want a month, a day, and a year, and we're going to ignore all of the implications of months with 30 days, months with 31 days, all those things. So we create our constructor here. Then let's write a ToString method for it also. And we'll use the slash format for the date. Then let's compile it. And it compiles just fine. So now we'll create our next class. The next class we're going to create is going to be called Datebook. It is also a regular class. Let's open the editor. Delete the innards here real quick. Delete. There we go. So notice what I've done. We're going to create a new object that's made up of two other objects, a date object and a time object. So in my constructor, what I'm going to need is I'm going to need a date, the date, and name, the name. And then we'll just say the date equals, oops, we'll have to say this, the date, equals the date, and this, the time, equals the time. Whoops, we're not doing time, we're doing name, sorry. This is a little tricky here. but that should work. So let's compile it. Everything compiles correctly. So we'll create yet a new class. We're going to call it test datebook. Let's open the editor. I'm working kind of fast just because this is taking quite a while. So we're going to say datebook. I can't remember if I capitalized that or not. We'll find out here in a minute. Now, is that going to work? No. We need date objects and time objects. Date objects and name objects. Nope, not like that. Like that. Now we can call the datebook object with the name and the date. Actually, I think we did date first. We could always go back and look that up. And then we can do a system out print line, a date to string. Now let's see if it compiles. We left out one very important part. Got carried away with my getting work done and forgot we have to have a public static void main. And then we'll put everything inside of that. Again, it's nice to see the errors that I make so you can see how to fix them yourselves, because you will probably make the same errors at some point. Now let's compile. No syntax errors, so we'll close and then we'll run. You'll see we have a new line error in here. I forgot to do a backslash, so let's go back into our code and let's fix that. And that's actually in the datebook code itself. So let's go back to datebook, open the editor, \n. Should fix it. Compile and close. Let's open test datebook again, compile it just to be on the safe side, close it, and then let's run it. There we go. So what you've seen is an example of composition where our datebook class is composed of a date class and a name class, or actually date class object and a name class object. And composition is a very common tool to use. You should use it as often as you can. A lot of time programmers try to use inheritance instead of composition. Composition is always used when the object is going to consist of two different types of class objects. Inheritance only happens when the chain of objects are related, like shapes or employee types. If that's not the case, then you should choose composition. And with that, we've completed this section on inheritance.